Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We are literally designing a blueprint for your mind, based on the module Stay Cool, Stay Calm, Anger Management. We're not just looking at surface-level Band-Aid tips here. No, we are constructing what we call the architecture of serenity. Think about architecture for a second. You think of intention, structure, a foundation built to withstand extreme pressure, right? Well, that's exactly the approach we're unpacking today. It's all about building a mental environment where staying cool and calm isn't just some happy accident, but the actual structural reality of your mind.
But hey, before we start pouring the concrete, I want you to really think about something. Why does anger feel so exhausting? I mean, have you ever noticed that right after a bout of frustration or a really heated moment, your adrenaline just crashes? Your focus gets totally clouded and you feel like you just ran a mental marathon. That's because anger requires immense mental heavy lifting. It isn't just a fleeting emotion, it's a massive physiological and psychological tax that just drains your internal reserves. So the source material we're exploring today zeroes in on the exact mechanics behind why this mental drain happens, and honestly, more importantly, it gives us the precise structural tools to stop that exhaustion right in its tracks.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our blueprint for today. We're going to start with the architecture of serenity, move into minimizing cognitive load, explore some visualization and CBT tools, look at healthy habitual actions, and finally, we'll cap it all off with a meditation strategy. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The architecture of serenity, building a foundation to stay cool and calm.
Moving to Section 2. Minimizing cognitive load, the central strategy for anger management. So, to build a truly strong foundation, you first have to clear the site of debris, right? The source material actually identifies a very specific, often hidden culprit that acts as this mental debris and makes our anger just spike. It's called cognitive load. In the context of our text, cognitive load represents the sheer amount of mental effort, clutter, and psychological strain that actively contributes to feelings of anger. Think of it kind of like a computer with way too many heavy applications running at the same time. You've got the stress of your commute running in the background, a tab open for that unresolved argument from yesterday, and maybe you're overanalyzing a weird tone of voice in an email you just got. All of this background processing is eating up your mental RAM. Eventually, what happens? The system overheats and crashes. Anger absolutely thrives on this mental clutter. When your cognitive load is maxed out, your patience is effectively sitting at zero, simply because your brain literally lacks the processing power to regulate a calm response. So, as the text explicitly points out, minimizing this cognitive load isn't just some nice idea, it is absolutely our primary, foundational strategy for managing anger.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core of the problem. When you operate with a high cognitive load, characterized by that constant overthinking and rapid exhaustion, a structural failure, meaning an outburst of anger, is just waiting to happen. The pressure inside the system is simply too intense. Conversely, the target state we are trying to build toward here is a minimized cognitive load. When you actively reduce that mental strain and literally close out those unnecessary background applications, the result is incredible. It brings absolute control and a pervasive sense of calm. Suddenly, you have the mental bandwidth required to process a frustrating situation without reacting impulsively. Understanding this shift? That's the whole game. The rest of our architectural blueprint is entirely dedicated to the specific mechanisms that move you from that volatile, high-load state to a stable, minimized load state.
Section 3. Visualization and CBT tools, the instruments for control.
All right, so now that we know minimizing cognitive load is the ultimate goal, how do we actually go about tearing down that mental clutter? Well, the text pairs two distinct methods together as our primary instruments for anger control: visualization techniques and cognitive behavioral, or CBT methods. Let's look at the actual mechanics of why these work so well. First up, visualization. Now, this isn't just about closing your eyes and picturing a quiet beach somewhere. No, in this context, it involves mentally rehearsing a conflict scenario and mapping out the calm neurological pathways ahead of time. By actually visualizing yourself responding evenly to a trigger, you are effectively preloading a lower stress response. This completely removes the panic and the immediate visual clutter when a stressful situation actually occurs. Then, we have cognitive behavioral methods. CBT targets those automatic negative thoughts that heavily tax our brains. You know, that internal monologue that says, "Oh, they're doing this just to disrespect me," where this always happens to me. CBT forces you to actively interrogate those thoughts. Is that thought actually true? Is there maybe another explanation? By challenging these automatic assumptions, you strip them of their emotional weight. You are essentially finding the heaviest debris in your mind and dismantling it piece by piece. Together, visualization and CBT act as the precise instruments needed to systematically lower the pressure in your mind, directly reducing your overall cognitive load.
All right, moving on to Section 4, Healthy Habitual Actions, Sustaining the Framework.
So, the crucial point is that having the right tools is essential, sure, but simply using a tool once doesn't build a house. We have to shift our focus to how we maintain the structural integrity of our calm mind over the long term. The text heavily emphasizes learning how to create a healthy habitual action in anger management, meaning it is not enough to just apply visualization or CBT manually when you suddenly feel the pressure rising. The module dictates that these isolated techniques must be transformed into automatic healthy habits. Let's talk about that transition phase for a second, because honestly, it isn't instant. At first, using a CBT tool feels a bit clunky. It requires a massive conscious effort to literally stop yourself mid-anger and reevaluate your thoughts. But over time, through consistent repetition, your brain's neuroplasticity actually goes to work. The pathways associated with your new, calm response become thicker and much faster. Eventually, they just become the path of least resistance. When lowering cognitive load becomes a habitual action, you no longer have to frantically search for your tools when a storm hits. Your mental architecture is already designed to weather it. The calm response literally becomes your natural default reflex.
And that brings us to Section 5, Meditation Strategy, the overarching roof.
So, we have cleared the site, we've used our instruments, and we've built a self-sustaining framework of habits. Now we reach the final structural element of our blueprint. The source text gives us this exact, incredibly powerful directive. Participants, learn how to apply meditation as the strategy in anger management. Notice the phrasing there. It is the strategy. Meditation isn't just another small tool you toss in the toolbox. It is the grand, encompassing roof that protects everything else we've built. Mechanically speaking, why is meditation positioned this way? Well, because meditation actively trains the brain to observe thoughts without attaching emotional weight to them. It creates this absolutely crucial buffer zone between a trigger and your response. When you sit in meditation, you are practicing the art of letting thoughts arise and pass, without interacting with them. This daily practice acts as a constant sweeping mechanism for the mind. It literally prevents the accumulation of the cognitive load that your CBT tools would otherwise have to dismantle later on. It's the ultimate preventative maintenance, deepening your habitual actions and beautifully maintaining that cool, calm architecture you've constructed from the top down.
Let's step back and see how this all builds together. When we look at this as a cohesive process, it breaks down into 3 distinct interconnected steps. Step 1, you apply tools. You actively intervene using cognitive behavioral methods and visualization to dismantle immediate mental clutter and minimize that heavy cognitive load. Then, step 2, you create habitual action. You practice these responses repeatedly, pushing through the initial friction until they become an automatic, healthy reflex to stress, wired directly into your nervous system. And finally, step 3, you implement the meditation strategy. You use meditation as the overarching, daily practice to sweep the mind, protect the baseline you've built, and prevent new cognitive load from accumulating. This is exactly how a single, isolated mental tool transforms, step by step, into a lasting, permanent state of serenity.
We've explored the entire blueprint laid out in the source module today, from understanding the sheer exhaustion of cognitive load to the mechanics of CBT, and finally applying the overarching strategy of meditation. But, an architectural plan is really just paper until someone decides to pick up a tool and start building. Look closely at the strategies we've unpacked today. Think about your own daily triggers and the mental heavy lifting you're carrying around right now. So, what healthy habit will you build to construct your own serenity? The materials are all right there in front of you. Thank you so much for exploring this explainer with me today, and I highly encourage you to start laying down your own foundation of calm right now.